Have you ever felt like you're putting in all the work, doing everything right, but just keep getting the short end of the stick? Well, today, we're diving into an ancient story about a 20-year-long struggle with injustice that has a surprisingly modern lesson. It's about an unseen defender who makes sure that our faithfulness never gets forgotten. Let's get into it.
So let's kick things off with this quote. This is from a man named Jacob, and he's finally standing up to his father-in-law after 2 decades of being exploited. And man, this one line just sums up the whole thing, doesn't it? It's this core idea that even when things feel completely unfair, there's someone working behind the scenes, making sure it all counts for something.
Okay, so to really get the weight of what Jacob's saying here, you've got to understand what he went through. I mean, this wasn't just a bad day at the office or a tough couple of months. We're talking about 2 decades of being systematically taken advantage of.
For 20 years, Jacob worked for his father-in-law, Laban, and it was just this endless cycle of lies and broken promises. Yeah, this wasn't just a case of a bad boss. The entire relationship was built on exploitation.
10. Just let that number sink in. 10 times Laban changed how Jacob got paid. Can you imagine your boss rewriting your contract 10 different times, and you just know every single time it's designed to benefit them, not you? That one number tells you everything you need to know about the kind of grinding unfairness he was dealing with.
So what does this ancient story have to do with us today? Well, a writer named Lee Carle pointed out a really interesting parallel. It's those moments when the people closest to us, the ones in our own circles, actually leave us feeling more discouraged than built up. It's that subtle, quiet chipping away at your spirit.
And this is where things really take a turn in the story. After years of this tension just simmering under the surface, the whole atmosphere changes. You can just feel the temperature drop, and you know something's about to happen.
And the connection here is, wow, it's so relatable. The ancient story says Jacob saw that Laban's whole expression, his countenance, had changed. All that warmth was just gone. You know that feeling, right? When someone who used to be so welcoming suddenly gives you the cold shoulder, and you have no idea why.
So why the sudden cold shoulder? Well, the insight here is pretty revealing. This spirit of Laban, so to speak, often shows its true colors the moment the exploitation stops. It turns out some people are only friendly as long as they're getting something from you. The second that one-sided deal ends, poof, the favor is gone.
So the big question becomes, how do you react when you're treated like that? And what's so powerful about both the ancient story and the modern one is that the response isn't about getting even. It's about integrity.
When Laban finally confronts him, Jacob doesn't start throwing insults. Nope, he just lays out the facts. His receipts, if you will. He lists his 20 years of hard work, working through heat and cold, losing sleep, even paying for his boss's losses out of his own pocket. He just states his record.
And you see that same spirit in the modern story too. Instead of getting into a big argument or trying to defend herself, the person in this situation turned inward. She chose prayer, deciding to trust that a higher justice was at work.
And the things that prompted this response, they're those small, personal slights that can hurt the most. Like, imagine you've been preparing for a musical performance, and suddenly your part is just cut, and nobody even tells you. Or that heavy, awful feeling of being deliberately left out. Or even something as small as someone looking at your clothes with this look of disdain. They seem minor, but they carry so much weight.
Okay, so this is where it all comes to a head. After all the endurance, after holding on to integrity, comes the vindication. And it's a kind of justice that you just can't manufacture on your own. It comes from outside the system.
And that's the real question, isn't it? When you're right in the middle of it, feeling overlooked, mistreated, it's so easy to just wonder, does anybody even see this? Does anyone care?
Well, for Jacob, the answer was, whoa, super direct. The story says God actually came to Laban in a dream and basically told him, you will not mess with Jacob. Don't say a single good or bad thing to him. It's like God literally stepped in and put up a shield, stopping his oppressor in his tracks.
And in the modern story, the vindication felt just as powerful. This wasn't about revenge, it was about something bigger, making things right. The person involved described it just like this, as a moment where God marvelously avenged her, a resolution that no person could have planned.
So how did it happen? You know that musical performance? The one that was the source of all that pain? Well, that became the exact moment of vindication. The performance was delivered with a kind of power and grace that was just undeniable, And afterwards, there was this flood of compliments from professionals in the field. It was a public, clear-as-day affirmation of her gift.
So all of this leads us to the big takeaway. And honestly, this might be the most important part of the whole story. It's about the incredible freedom you find when you let go of the need to get your own back.
So at the end of the biblical story, Jacob and Laban do something kind of strange. They build this pile of rocks called Gilead. And it wasn't just a property line. They called it a witness heap, which is so cool. It was basically them making a pact, saying, we're done. God has handled this, and we're not going to cross this line to hurt each other ever again. And this brings up such a beautiful idea. It's a concept that those 20 years of thankless hard work, they weren't wasted. It's like every moment of faithfulness was accumulating a kind of spiritual and natural profit for Jacob, and payday was finally coming. It means that those long seasons of endurance are never, ever empty.
And really, it all comes down to this kind of mindset right here. I don't need retribution. God sees all, God holds all, I trust Him, I obey. It's that total shift away from needing another person to apologize or make it right, to just having a quiet confidence that God sees it all and He'll take care of it in His own time. That is real freedom.
So I want to leave you with this question to think about. Where in your life might your quiet, faithful endurance be building up a profit, a spiritual and natural reward that you just can't see yet? It's a pretty powerful thought, right? Thanks for tuning in.